Many thanks. So, good afternoon, everybody. I am Daniel Mavrakis from Myriel Aviation, and this presentation is a kind of follow-up of the poster I presented last year, showing how we could use ADS-B data from OpenSky and other hubs to display real-time traffic in a flight planning application used in real flight by mainly private pilots. So, regarding conflict of interest, I am part of the developer team for the Airmate app. There is no real commercial impact because it's a free app that is available for any pilot completely free of charge. If we look at mid-air collisions that are indeed a subject pilots are very conscious of, there are a significant number of mid-air collisions, as you can see, around 16 a year if we look at the last 9 years in European sky. It's significant, but it's not so bad. And if we compare to other transportation vectors, of course, cars following one-dimensional space have much more collision rates than boats or aircrafts. And probably pilots run much more risk having to die in a crash accident going to the airport than in a plane accident caused by a collision. Nevertheless, even if it is 16 collisions a year, mainly for general aviation, small flights, it's much too high, especially if we can try to lower those numbers. For the commercial aviation, of course, there are TCAS that are mandatorily installed, but for small aircraft, the situation is different, and pilots will rely on see and avoid, looking around for collision prevention. They can also be informed by ATC that will detect the conflict thanks to the transponders for transponder-equipped aircrafts. And on top of that, they may have, apart the TCAS that are for certified aircrafts, various hardware devices that could be installed in the aircrafts in order to warn them of potential conflicting traffic. On top of that, you have a number of aviation applications that may detect traffic. You have a few aviation apps that has been built especially to this end. For example, the GliderNet app, Have Traffic or Safe Sky, where the only aim of the application is to display traffic around the aircraft. And most aviation flight planning apps, you have probably 5 or 6 main aviation planning apps used in the general aviation world. Most of those apps now are displaying traffic around. So for those pilots, in order to be able to be aware of the potential conflicting traffic, they need, of course, an out channel and an in channel. The out channel may be a transponder. It may be, especially in the gliding world, FLAM devices that are widely used by gliders. You have various proprietary devices using proprietary protocols that will broadcast over specific open frequencies aircraft position around. And now you have those mobile apps that will display traffic received from mobile network. That is an important point, and will also broadcast aircraft parameters. So other pilots equipped with similar apps will be able to be aware of surrounding traffic. And then the pilots themselves may be alerted of conflicting traffic from ATC, from the onboard FLAM or ADS-B receivers, or using those mobile apps. So here are some examples of ADS-B receivers. Those are small portable devices that are very similar to the device we use to receive ADS-B traffic. And the cost of those devices is between $100 and $800 or $1,000. I would say the average price will be around $400. So it's not very high, especially compared to the price of one flight hour, that is between $100 and $200. But nevertheless, you have a lot of pilots that are reluctant to invest in those devices. And then they are interested having the ability to get the traffic on an aviation app running on their smartphone. So last year, we have shown how we have used ADS-B feed to integrate the traffic display in the Airmate app. That is, in fact, a complete flight planning application. So we have just added the traffic, and the pilot may have one single application during the flight for all their flight-related purposes, including traffic display. If there is a conflicting traffic that is detected by the application, we will raise an oral warning and display a TCAS-like display that is, of course, informational. It's not a certificate device. And we will display the traffic around, so the pilot may look around to make sure that there is no risk of collisions. So for that, you need, of course, to have mobile network connectivity, but it is also possible to connect to an onboard traffic receiver. So how it works, this architecture is the same for all applications that will display network ADS-B traffic over the mobile network. Every application is using the same architecture, that is having a kind of server that will connect to OpenSky or other ADS-B hubs in order to receive ADS-B feed. They will also connect to GliderNet, that is an open network consolidating FLARM and various other protocols. So they will have a global view of as many traffic using as many different protocols for traffic reporting. And then they will deduplicate similar traffic coming from various sources. And that is the difficult part. They will extract for every user in the flying only the traffic matching the bounding box displayed by the map. Because you cannot send the whole ADS-B traffic to every pilot flying. So that is our architecture, but it is the same for everybody. And a very important point, and that was the reason for which we have added this feedback we will present to you now, is that we were not really expecting this information to be very useful for the main reason being that the traffic is forwarded through numerous hubs before being forwarded to the pilot. As Xavier pointed out this morning, it is even difficult to have a reliable timestamp from a ground station. Then the traffic from the ground station will be forwarded to an hub, for example, OpenSky. Then it will be forwarded to another hub, for example, our hub. And then it will be extracted and sent to the pilots flying. We could easily have 2 or 3 seconds delay between the information received from a ground station, or more exactly transmitted by the aircraft, and the data that is received at the other end. And meaning that you may have a position error horizontally of at least 600 meters, considering 400 knots of relative speed difference. So it's really significant difference. And what is worse is that when the traffic is near the aircraft, the relative position may be extremely different. The user may have the impression the traffic is at 1 o'clock, and in fact, it will be at 9 o'clock. So it will be difficult for the pilot to make sure he should look at the right, left to see the traffic. On top of that, of course, the traffic relaying will work only if you are connected to the mobile network with data quality sufficient to receive enough data with an acceptable latency. So there are many cases where you will not get any traffic. So what we have done, when we display this kind of alerts, we will record the information during the alert, and at the end of the flight, we ask feedback from the pilot to check if the conflict information was useful or not. And we have been very surprised. Here you have the number of warnings that has been generated, nearly 2,500 over a few months everywhere in the world. And if we focus on Europe here, you have a good idea of the location where alerts were raised. And the figures were quite good because we had most pilots thinking that the information was very useful or useful. In fact, we have less than 10% of respondents that felt the information was not useful. We have also tried to have a look of the aircraft altitude during the alert. And of course, most of them occurs at very low altitude, below 2,000 feet. And also most alerts are occurring near airfields. And that is perfectly consistent to the pattern for aircraft collision. So we have been very happily surprised by those results, and we will now work to extend the analysis to other parameters, such kind of flight, the type of traffic origin. We don't plan to try to study the traffic distance between the aircraft and the conflicting traffic because, as stated before, we cannot gauge the separation distance accurately. So that's it. Many thanks for
Thanks, Daniel, for the really nice and insightful presentation. Do we have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you very much for the very nice presentation. I was just wondering that most of your alerts are like at very low altitude, so pilots most on the traffic pattern probably. And I noticed that your alert is like visual. And I would argue that for this situation, the pilot should probably be looking outside in the traffic pattern to identify this other aircraft. So I'm wondering if there actually might be a decrease in security, because when pilots get these tools, they are then looking always down to see if there is an alert on the display, when they should actually be looking outside trying to identify traffic. especially since you are like 3 seconds behind and whatnot. So I was thinking if you consider this maybe making also very acoustical high alerts so that pilots don't need to be always looking down on the traffic pattern.
I agree that a number of alerts are probably in the traffic pattern because we are near in the airport, in less than 5 nautical miles of the airport in most than 60% of the cases. And indeed, we raise an audio alert that is done. We raise an audio alert and we indicate the position fully and the distance of the traffic that is done. So the alert is rather intrusive. You have both the display that will be shown on the top of the aviation map, and you have an oral warning. Regarding the oral warning, even if we are making a very strong beep, the issue is that in small aircrafts, a lot of pilots are in a very noisy environment, and they are also using noise attenuation headsets, meaning they may not hear very well the alert from the mobile device. A lot of pilots are usually affixing their mobile device more or less in a prominent way in the cockpit, so they could easily see the aviation map.
Thank you.
So we have one more question.
Thanks a lot. I have just a question. This 3 seconds delay, where do they usually occur? Because if it's, let's say, transmission, then this might not be reduced. But if it's computational wise, it may be feasible to just, I don't know, or even maybe do it on a mobile phone, because these mobile phones are really good nowadays.
It's a very good question. I think, in fact, the 3 seconds was, of course, it's even probably an optimistic assumption. You are right, there is a computation time, but the computation time at the application side is extremely low. It's really a very, very small part of maybe 1/10 of a second. You have some computation at the server side that is extracting the data for the bounding box for every aircraft, but it's not so big. We are certainly well below half a second, but the server is not serving data continuously. It is serving data 1 or twice per second, because it is also receiving the data from the hub at different intervals. For example, we managed to get the data from OpenSky every 2 seconds. For some other hubs, the data reception is using other mechanism and maybe continuous flow. It depends on the hubs. But the main delay will be between the mobile network, the mobile station, and the aircraft. As communication may not be so good, it means that you may have retries over the TCP/IP network in order to transmit the packet. But anyway, 2 or 3 seconds are, in my view, minimum. So we need to perform more tests, but that will be more complicated, where we will do tests in flight and perform the analysis, recording the packet in the aircraft in order to compare with the reception time of the same packet at our server. So there is some work to be done here, but we are fairly sure that 3 seconds is really minimum.
So I will ask a really last question. So you found that a lot of pilots found the application useful, and some pilots found it somewhat useful. Did anyone find those displays to be harmful? Or you didn't ask?
No, we have not asked. I think it could be a good idea. we have only not useful. And we know that we have also 33% of pilots that are not answering the study. So it's, but you're right. We will amend the pool in order to add harmful or distracting or something. Let's do that. Again, the pool is only displayed for users having an alarm raised. So most users are flying, using the app, viewing the traffic, but will not get any alert. And of course, they will not get the study.